What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you. Also ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80. Also ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Credit Karma. Get your truly free credit scores and free credit monitoring from Credit Karma today. That's Credit Karma, K-A-R-M-A. Get knowing. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Lots of stuff to get into today. Particularly with the NFL announcing that Kareem Hunt, running back, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, now with the Cleveland Browns, has been suspended for 8 years based on the domestic violence violation of the NFL's conduct policy, to be more specific, when he was caught on video kicking a woman. 8 games is the game that he suffered from. 8-game suspension. All right, so I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. I'll get into that in just a little bit. But the first order of business is a story on the Bleacher Report by a contemporary, Rick Bucher. Rick Bucher has been covering the NBA for many, many years. Very, very well connected. Really good guy. He wrote an article for the Bleacher Report basically saying a couple of things that has rocked the NBA world to some degree. First, that Jeanie Buss was contemplating trading LeBron James. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. You can be a great reporter, phenomenal at what you do, incredibly well connected, and somebody could say that you got something wrong. It's happened to me. It's happened to me before. It's going to happen to me again. On this rare occasion, I say the same thing about Rick Bucher, casting no aspersions on him whatsoever, but I don't believe that. They talk about when Anthony Davis, rumors about Anthony Davis propped up and whether or not he was going to become a Laker, and some of the things that Rich Paul, the agent for Clutch Sports, who represents LeBron James, even though in a lot of people's eyes LeBron James is Clutch Sports, et cetera, all of that stuff went on. And apparently for some odd reason, and I don't have the story in front of me, I'm waiting until I get that, Jeanie Buss was a bit perturbed by the whole process. I don't believe for 1 second that Jeanie Buss, who I've communicated with for years, who I know, who, by the way, I just spoke to last week while I was in L.A., I don't think for 1 second that Jeanie Buss contemplated trading LeBron James. Now, I do know that Rich Paul, and in the interest of full disclosure, I like Rich Paul. But that doesn't mean anything, ladies and gentlemen, because I like Rich Paul. I like the Goodwin brothers. I love my brother Bill Duffy. I like Jeff Wexler. I like Don Tellum. I've been a fan of David Falk for years. I know he might find that hard to believe, but it's the absolute truth. I think David Falk was a phenomenal agent. He used to represent Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo, and all those boys. Represented Allen Iverson in the first part of his career. Very, very well connected to Georgetown. Represented John Thompson. I love David Falk. Fantastic agent. It's a whole bunch of these guys in the business. Aaron Mintz at CAA. I like him. It's a whole bunch of agents out there that are far beyond just credible. Far beyond that. So the fact that I like Rich Paul doesn't mean a damn thing. I do, because I think that he's growing and growing and getting better and better in this business. And the clientele that he's recruited is undeniable. Ben Simmons, John Wall, recently acquired Draymond Green, LeBron James he's had, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson he's had. The list goes on and on. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's got him. You got a whole bunch of guys out there And the clientele appears to be growing. But when I hear that Jeanie Buss was fed up with somebody, I'm thinking it was Rich Paul, not LeBron James. Because what you have is a situation, and it's very, very clear to me the kind of stuff that's been transpiring. If you're Jeanie Buss, how the hell are you going to be fed up with LeBron James? You haven't made the playoffs in 5 years. Your franchise had regressed to a virtual joke. LeBron James brings his talents to L.A. At the time, he's the greatest player in the world. And the potential recruiting avenues that were created by his arrival was unquestionable. How could Jeanie Buss possibly have a problem with that? There is no question that she had to like the arrival, if not flat out love the arrival of LeBron James. But LeBron James comes with baggage in the eyes of executives, in the eyes of some owners, in the eyes of clearly other agents and GMs. And that baggage in this particular instance may be Rich Paul in her eyes. Because if you're Rich Paul and you're representing LeBron James, you're not capitulating too much. People are usually capitulating to you. And if you're Jeanie Buss and you gave Kentavious Caldwell-Pope a one-year deal for $17 million, and now he's getting $12 million, and you might not think he's worth $3 million, that might be a problem. If Anthony Davis is out there publicly saying, I want out of New Orleans, and his agent is letting everybody know he wants to be in L.A., but the Pelicans and their ownership, who are contemporaries of Jeanie Buss, are offended by how things are handled, and their eye is not only aimed in the direction of Rich Paul, but also Jeanie Buss, that's something that might agitate her. I'm just speculating. Educated speculation, by the way, but nevertheless speculation. These are the kind of things that are transpiring. And as this goes on, there's a bigger story, Nuno. There's a bigger story, JC and others, to this story that people are not realizing as it pertains to LeBron James. And somebody has to say it. My boy Champ would be very, very proud about where I'm about to go. He'd be very proud. I'm not going to go as far as to say something as idiotic and ridiculous as in trade LeBron James like he's some scrub. In his sleep, the man averages 27 a game. LeBron James unquestionably is one of the greatest players on the planet. Before he got injured Christmas Day, we were still calling him the greatest player on the planet. He's a 4-time league MVP. He's a 3-time NBA champion. He's made 9 trips to the NBA Finals. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Think about his draft class. Let's go over the first 5 picks, Nuno. Number 2 was Darko Milicic from the Detroit Pistons. Joe Dumars is still excoriated for that, even though he went to 2 NBA Finals after that. Didn't want to draft Carmelo Anthony because he had Tayshaun Prince with Rasheed Wallace, with Bennett Wallace, with Rip Hamilton, with Chauncey Billups and those boys. Didn't need Carmelo. I still would have taken him. But Joe Dumars didn't do that. So Darko Milicic, what has he done in his career? We don't need to go there. Number 3, Carmelo Anthony. In the draft, LeBron was number 1. Darko Milicic was number 2. Carmelo Anthony was number 3. Carmelo Anthony won the national championship for Syracuse and Jim Boeheim as a freshman. Went to the pros. Has not been to a championship round since. Unless you're counting the Olympics. In the NBA, Carmelo Anthony has been to 1 conference finals. He's never made an NBA Finals. And he's been bounced out in the first round about 8 or 9 times. Meanwhile, LeBron James is going to 9 NBA Finals. Chris Bosh, the number 4 overall pick. Chris Bosh has been to 4 NBA Finals in his career, has won 2 championships. All 4 of those appearances and both of those championships was with LeBron James as his teammate. D. Wade is a 3-time champion. An NBA Finals MVP. We can't cast any aspersions on him because before LeBron James arrived in South Beach, D. Wade had made South Beach Wade County because this brother was a perennial all-star, a superstar in this league, an NBA champion who won an NBA Finals MVP award before LeBron James ever arrived. A matter of fact, LeBron James learned how to win because of D. Wade, in part. But nevertheless, the 5 trips to the NBA Finals and the 3 championships, 4 of those trips were with LeBron James as his teammate, and 2 of those championships were with LeBron James as his teammate. I don't know if there's anybody else in the 2003 class that's worthy of speaking of. I guess I got to look it up. Once my computer starts working, I guess I'll have to look it up. But the fact of the matter is, LeBron James and his greatness cannot be denied. LeBron James and what he's accomplished cannot be denied. But you want me to tell you what can be denied, Nuno? You want me to tell you what can be denied, JC? Your apparent fixation to not only empower yourself, but others around you in NBA circles. That's what owners and executives are having a problem with. That is what is making LeBron James become that irritant. Because even when it's not him, he's going to get blamed for it. If you've got the shop or you're doing post-game interviews and you're reminding the world about how you're your own man and you can do what you want and you can't be controlled because you've already generated in excess of $1 billion for yourself and you've gone Hollywood and you're executive producing shows and creating content and doing things of that nature, and you have an aspiration to do other things in media, guess what, LeBron James? For the most part, he's right. He can do what the hell he wants. But somehow, some way, if you know anything about corporate America, if you know anything about billionaire boys clubs, if you know anything about the power structure that exists in this nation, and how you got cats that made money a different way, who look at you as labor, who look at you as players, and you are out there bloviating about how you can do what you want, when you want, how you want. Any opportunity that they get to humble you, they're going to take advantage of it. You think people ain't smiling at LeBron James on the verge of missing the playoffs for the first time in 14 years? He's been to 13 straight playoff appearances. They're having a ball with it. You think they're not laughing at LeBron James missing the final? Never mind the ratings. Never mind how the ratings are going to suffer. Never mind how the ratings have been suffering since LeBron James took his talents from Lake Erie to Southern California. Because he plays later in the evening and the games come on later. And as a result, you don't get those earlier ratings you were getting from LeBron James as a lead-in to those West Coast games. And it has affected ratings. You think they care about that? No, they don't care about that. They don't care about that because in reality, at the end of the day, although there should be an incredible level of appreciation for the greatness that LeBron James has put on display, it doesn't come without its critics. It doesn't come without its negativity. It doesn't come without people who are determined to take you down. Enter Rich Paul into the equation. Let's call this what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, there are people out there that believe the only reason why Rich Paul even matters is because of LeBron James. They think he would be just some kid selling T-shirts out of his trunk if it wasn't for LeBron James. That's how they feel about him, some of them. I keep this in mind for you. They don't say those kind of things about Maverick Carter. But they do say those things about Rich Paul. The difference between Rich Paul and Maverick Carter is Maverick Carter, management, businessman, et cetera, et cetera. Rich Paul's an agent. Not to say that agents are not those things, but agents have to be bad guys. And agents create more enemies than folks that are sitting in Maverick Carter's position. So as a result, you're going to have people hating on Rich Paul. So they're going to bring up the fact that he tried to force the trade of Anthony Davis to L.A. They're going to bring stuff like that up. They're going to remind them about how you hoodwinked folks and you used your cachet and leverage with LeBron James to get Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith paid. They're going to say those kind of things about you. They're going to ask folks to look at contracts of players that you sign, wondering and questioning, did you do a good enough job for them? You're going to be under the gun. You're going to be critiqued ad nauseum. That is the life of Chris Paul today as we know it. But let me give y'all a little secret. It also happens to be a reason why you have some of these guys gravitate to him. Because they recognize the level of vitriol aimed in his direction. And they were offended by it. They're offended by it. This young brother grinding, doing his thing, and y'all don't want to recognize his talents. Y'all want to attribute it to his connection to LeBron James and LeBron James only. And y'all don't want to give him credit where credit is due. That's what the Draymond Greens of the world and others, are like John Wall and others, are saying about Chris Paul. Because they respect him. And they like him. Excuse me. And because they feel that way about him, they're taken aback by the criticism that comes his way. And so it's not an accident that you see these stories. And it says stuff like Jeanie Buss apparently fed up with Rich Paul. It didn't say she was fed up with LeBron James. It didn't say that LeBron James is causing her problems. It intimated Rich Paul. Now, I didn't see that. I saw her being very nice to Rich Paul last week at the Staples Center when I was there. I didn't see that. But then again, who's to say it is or it's not true? We don't know. What we do know is this. This summer is going to be incredibly interesting. Because as I've told y'all on many occasions, we going to find out about LeBron this summer. I'm not talking about LeBron James, the player. We know what he is. A matter of fact, if LeBron's healthy next year, I'm going to put him in the MVP conversation because I don't think that LeBron will ever be more motivated in recent memory than he's going to be next season. As hungry as LeBron James was in pursuit of that first elusive championship, I think he's going to go back to that level of hunger. So as a player, I'm not concerned about LeBron. I'm concerned about LeBron, the recruiter. Who you going to get? KD ain't talking about coming to L.A. Not for the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard ain't talking about becoming a Laker. Kyrie Irving ain't talking about becoming a Laker. Kemba Walker ain't talking about becoming a Laker. Klay Thompson ain't talking about becoming a Laker. Who you going to get? I just named 5. I didn't name Jimmy Butler, the Tobias Harris, and other guys who ain't superstars, but they can play. I didn't mention them. You got about 7 or 8 high second tier to automatic first tier stars available in free agency this summer, and not a single damn one of them are talking about coming to L.A. to play with LeBron James. That's a problem. That's a problem. And if that doesn't, and if it materializes into that, where, Lord help you. See, you know, John, people are not realizing this. The Lakers, it's not just about who you don't get. What if they go to the Clippers? What if they go to the Clippers? What if the Clippers become Yankees West and the Lakers get reduced to the status of the New York Mets? I mean, once upon a time, that was unconscionable. Could you imagine if that becomes the case with LeBron on the Lakers? I got news for you. Who's to say LeBron wouldn't ask to be traded? All of this stuff is getting very tricky. All of this stuff is heightening. And I look at that right now, and this summer is going to be very, very interesting. Because remember, according to our very own Mark Spears, for the undefeated website for us, Mark Spears said it best. He said, and he's telling the truth, Pelicans ain't trading Anthony Davis to L.A. They're not doing it. Ownership doesn't want to do it. They just don't want to do business with the Lakers when it comes to Anthony Davis. So where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? It's not about Jeanie Buss contemplating trading LeBron James. It's about Jeanie Buss being annoyed, potentially, because Rich Paul may have made life inconvenient for her, because with the whole Anthony Davis ordeal, you might have irritated ownership in New Orleans, who pick up the phone and call her. They ain't gonna call Rich Paul. They gonna call her if they're irritated. Ownership is not gonna complain to an agent. They'll leave their underlings to do that. When ownership has a problem with you, it's because another owner had a problem with you. That's what Rich Paul, in all likelihood, has to deal with. We'll see how he reacts to it. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We'll continue talking about this. Plus, we'll get into Kareem Hunt, member of the Cleveland Browns, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk about that 8-game suspension he received. And I'll tell you why it should suffice. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, if you haven't tried the delicious, high-quality meat from ButcherBox, you're going to be blown away. ButcherBox brings you meat the way it's meant to be, so you can get all of the benefits you're supposed to get. Unbelievable flavor and unparalleled nutrition. They work closely with the best farms and companies committed to raising animals humanely. From grass-fed beef to free-range organic chicken to wild-caught sockeyed salmon from Bristol Bay, Alaska, ButcherBox has over 20 different cuts of meat to choose from, with customizable boxes and a variety of other options to choose from. And ButcherBox comes at an affordable price, too. With free shipping, you can get a month's worth of the best-tasting meat from ButcherBox for less than $6 a meal. ButcherBox is offering my listeners free ground beef for the life of your subscription and $20 off your first box when you sign up at butcherbox.com/Stephen A. Don't miss out on this special offer at butcherbox.com/Stephen A. That's butcherbox.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
Gentlemen, you've been sitting around for too long. Whether you want to get to the game, NFL, college, MLB, or concert, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN.
Was on hold. He had called early himself. You just don't see that from professional athletes. I'm not knocking Antonio Brown the way some people would do, but he's talking about doing things the right way at his press conference yesterday for the Oakland Raiders, but it was after he had showed up late. That's not something Eli Manning does. He doesn't show up late. He doesn't engage in behavior that could be described as dilatory. He doesn't pass the buck. He doesn't sit up there and do things for public consumption that an organization frowns upon. He's not a divisive force within a locker room. Everything about Eli Manning personifies class, as in first class, in front of the cameras, but behind the scenes, with permission to speak candidly and openly. What do you think he said to Tish and Mara about Odell Beckham Jr.? What do you think he said to Gettleman about Odell Beckham Jr.? What do you think Shermer, without Eli Manning's adage, advice, counsel, or whatever, what do you think Shermer had to say about Odell Beckham Jr.? We saw how he felt about Odell Beckham Jr. by virtue of how he raved about Saquon Barkley. This is the reality. This is the truth. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm like, that's why Odell Beckham Jr. is gone. Odell Beckham Jr. is gone because of a 37-year-old quarterback whose life would be easier without him, at least off the field, or at least on the sidelines. And we can slice it any way we want to. But that's what it's going to come down to, because I'm here to tell you something right now, and I challenge anybody to tell me differently. You're trying to tell me that Eli Manning is insistent on keeping Odell Beckham Jr. and the Giants let Odell Beckham Jr. go anyway? Come on, y'all. Do y'all really believe that? I don't. And neither should you.
Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
If you missed any of my opening segment today, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One, hey, what's in your wallet? 31 minutes past hour number one, back in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Start off hour number two, the great one himself, the NFL insider extraordinaire, the one and only Adam Schefter will be on the show with us to talk about an abundance of things percolating in the NFL community. I'm going to call up, as always, until then, it's 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. To get to the story of the morning, news has come down that Kareem Hunt, formerly the star running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, Kareem Hunt was handed a 7-game suspension by Commissioner Roger Goodell of the National Football League, who had met with Kareem Hunt. The NFL had investigated a multitude of incidences he found himself involved in, requiring law enforcement intervention over the last couple of years or so. The standard is 6 games for something that involves physical force. The NFL gave him 8. Standard suspension for violating NFL's personal conduct policy when it comes to assault, battery, domestic violence, or sexual assault that involves physical force is 6 games. Kareem Hunt got 8 games. Did the league get this one right? Ladies and gentlemen, there's no right about this. Kareem Hunt is lucky that he didn't get suspended for the year. Caught on video, having to be restrained, not by 1, not by 2, but 3 different men. Kareem Hunt had to be restrained. The girl fell against the wall. She was down. And while she was down and he was being yanked away by another young lady, he kicked her again. These are the undisputable facts. Here's another fact that everybody needs to remember. Kareem Hunt was let go by the Kansas City Chiefs immediately upon being placed on the commissioner's exempt list and prohibited from playing football after the 11th game of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs, because they saw a video, they saw the footage, and once they put him on the commissioner's list, the Chiefs cut ties with him immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't just that because he was on the commissioner's list. It was because Kareem Hunt had lied to Andy Reid's face. He had lied to Eric Bieniemy's face, now the offensive coordinator, the former running backs coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, who had worked directly with Kareem Hunt. He had lied to their face, from what I was told. He had lied to their face. I am an individual who believes that America is the land of second chances. I've seen rapists get second chances. I've seen killers get second chances. I've seen those convicted of vehicular manslaughter and things of that nature get second chances. We've seen some of the most deplorable individuals one can imagine, based on their actions, get second chances in the United States of America. And if that is our MO, I am of the belief that Kareem Hunt should receive the same after his 8-game suspension. Had it been a year, I wouldn't have said a word. Because when you get caught on video doing what he got caught doing, you got to pay the penance. Plain and simple. The other thing that's important to point out about Kareem Hunt is this. You know, remember, it was in November that TMZ published the video of the incident, and Hunt was placed on the commissioner's list. I hope people like John Wall of the Washington Wizards are watching, because obviously he doesn't deserve to be associated with anything like this, because to our knowledge, he's never done such a thing. And I want to be very, very clear. I only bring him up in a very facetious fashion because you remember, Nuno, when I talked about John Wall being at the Rose Bar 36 hours or so before the season opener after he had come into camp out of shape. You know, you got people in the NBA community mad at me because, oh, he dimed John Wall out about the club. Ladies and gentlemen, I would never do that. First of all, I don't talk about people's private life like that because I have a private life. And oh, by the way, I don't want to be a hypocrite because I'll be damned if I haven't been to the Rose Bar before. Matter of fact, I'm going back. Okay, so let's be very, very clear about that. There's another club that's in D.C. I mean, I'd be there this weekend if I had time. So ain't nobody calling him out about that, nor would I ever talk about that. My exact words about John Wall were simple. You can't put yourself in a position where TMZ is putting out videos about you at the club. In other words, I said something after the videos revealed him at the club, not before. Because I would never do that. That's not how I roll. But that's neither here nor there. Back to Kareem Hunt. Because again, John Wall has never been associated with any kind of criminal behavior or activity or anything. He's actually a very, very good guy. He's just a bit sensitive these days, but he's a good guy. Kareem Hunt, can't say that. I would like to believe he's a good guy. The evidence shows us otherwise. He's lucky he wasn't suspended for the year. He's lucky he's back in the National Football League. Because from a football perspective, Kareem Hunt, here's what I want you to know. I hope you never do something like that to any woman again. You swear you won't. You've apologized. We'll take you at your word. You serve your 8 games. You come back. You play football. But here's what I want Kareem Hunt to hold on to as a football player. You cost the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl championship. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, if Kareem Hunt were healthy and playing and had not been placed on the commissioner's exempt list because of his transgressions, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs would be standing here today as Super Bowl champions. I do not believe that the Patriots would have beaten them in the AFC Championship game. And I do not believe the Rams would have beaten them in the Super Bowl. I believe Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill, with Travis Kelce, with Sammy Watkins and those boys, and Kareem Hunt, I believe they would have won the title. They would have won the Super Bowl championship. I really believe that. And Kareem Hunt's suspension cost them the championship. So now here he goes, and he goes to Cleveland. And what do we look at here? Kareem Hunt in Cleveland, with Odell Beckham Jr., with Jarvis Landry, with Nick Chubb, with Baker Mayfield. Cleveland's got a chance. They've got a chance. We shall see. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call up. We were talking about LeBron and Rich Paul before the break. Been talking about Kareem Hunt ever since. Let's go to the phones. Donovan, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, man.
Hey, yeah, what's going on, man? I'm a Lakers fan, so I think the problem was just like what KD was saying, was just the whole thing is toxic because it's messing up the foundation, which is basketball. It's like you keep hearing, well, I might get traded, I might get this and that. It's like my Lakers are trying to focus on getting diamonds instead of getting gold. Like we had the young players to lead us. It's just I think LeBron has to take a step back and realize, he's at the end of the road. Let Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and Brandon Ingram take over. Now in the offseason,
Donovan, so let me get this straight. LeBron James, who's a career 27-point-per-game scorer, shooting better than 48% from the field. LeBron James should take a backseat offensively to Lonzo Ball. I mean, can I ask you? Donovan? I'm gonna mess with you, man. It's all in love. I'm gonna mess with you. I don't want to offend you too much by this question. It's all in love, bro. It's all in love. We don't know your last name. I'm not trying to get you in no trouble, bro. Do you use weed?
Hey, look, it's Lent. I gave up weed for Lent. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to.
Oh, so you gave up weed for Lent? You gave up weed for Lent? All right. I'm not hating on it. I'm not. Are you on the Lent now?
Hey, no, yo,
are you on the Lent now? Because you said LeBron James should take a back seat to Lonzo Ball. You do understand that's what you said, right?
Stephen A., he should take a back seat to Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and Brandon Ingram. Let the younger guys take over.
So let the younger guys take over. What have you seen from the younger guys that tells you they should take over?
These younger dudes can put up 20-plus points. I'm a Lakers fan that watched these dudes last year.
You think – hold on, Donovan. You sitting here telling me you think Lonzo Ball can average 20 a night? Is that what you just said?
It's not Lonzo Ball. It's the whole younger core playing together. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. I got you. You trying to soften it now because your boy's listening, and you knew I was gonna jump all over you because you tried to say that Lonzo should be elevated above LeBron. I was about to get you immediately drug tested. You know that.
Stephen,
come on, man.
I was a Lakers fan saying I didn't want LeBron James, but I understand. Hey, he's here now. I understand what he does. I'm just saying he's at the end of his career.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you, Donovan. I know what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but I know what you're saying. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Donovan, we want to put our hands together and pray for this brother. He said LeBron should take a back seat because of Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. I know he added Kuzma to the list, but I'm stuck on Lonzo. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with more of your calls in a minute before Adam Schefter comes on the line. By the way, you never know what goes out. You know what never goes out of style? Surprising a friend or loved one with buy one, get one free multicolored rose bouquets for $29.99 from 1-800-Flowers.com. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Back with your calls in more in a minute.
Gentlemen, you've been sitting around for too long. Whether you want to get to the game, NFL, college, MLB, or concert, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Go to vividseats.com and enter promo code ESPN to get 10% off your order.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Does your weed and feed work as hard as Bio Advanced